Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And coming up on this edition of the State of the Saints podcast, we talk about Saints head coach Kellen Moore and him injecting some youth into the roster. And also, the New Orleans Saints add a familiar name from a familiar foe to their front office. The State of the Saints podcast is here. Let's go.
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
All I got to say is, who that? What's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. I really do appreciate your time, no matter wherever you are, wherever you may be. Thank you so much for choosing the State of the Saints podcast for your listening and viewing pleasure. On this edition, we're going to be talking about Saints head coach Kellen Moore and some of the moves that he has made to try to make the team a little bit more youthful. And we're also going to be talking about the New Orleans Saints adding a familiar name to their front office in a consulting role. But shouts out to everybody in the chat right now. Shouts out to everybody filing in as we begin this show. I do want to let you know immediately following this episode, we'll be over on NFC South Roundtable. Of course, we do this every Tuesday. I'll go ahead and put that link inside of the comments where you can check it out. It starts at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. So right after this show, you can go on over, or you'll see yours truly over there talking NFC South football. We have a really good time over there. So if you haven't checked out the show, please do. We'd really appreciate that. But let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk a little bit about Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore is, of course, in his first year as the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. And this is, of course, his first job as a head coach. And Kellen Moore has really done I won't say a good job, because, I don't know what's going to end up happening. But he has done some things to try to make sure that this team is a little bit more youthful. And I know that some individuals ended up, being released, and familiar names aren't with the team. But, I can respect what Kellen Moore is doing. On Monday, the Saints released J.T. Gray, a longtime special teams ace, all-pro on the special teams side of the ball. And, it was a tough decision, I'm sure. But this goes to show you that Kellen Moore is trying to do things his way. And I don't have an issue with that. I really don't. I talked about it on the last episode, and I'm going to say it again. I don't have an issue with Kellen Moore trying to improve the football team the way that he sees fit. I would kind of look at him differently if he came to this team and nothing really changed. The Saints seem like they are embracing change, and they're trying to turn the page. And Kellen Moore, he's adding some familiar guys that, some people may not be accustomed to. But if you watch college football, you see the production, you see what these guys have done on the collegiate level. And you got guys like Tommy Millott, who they signed to the practice squad. He's going to play wide receiver according to Kellen Moore. But at the same time, a guy that has thrown for so many yards, and his touchdown interception ratio at Montana State, be that it was Montana State, was pretty doggone impressive, man. So, he's a guy that probably could be used in more of a gadget role, and he can fill that need. And, who knows, maybe the Saints will try to utilize him, and, maybe one day. But all in all, I like the moves that the New Orleans Saints are making. They're just trying to become a little bit better in the process. But there is another move that the New Orleans Saints are have made to their front office. We'll talk about that in just a second. But I'm gonna go ahead and read some of your comments. Feel free to put your comments inside of the chat. We're gonna be going pretty fast on this episode because, like I said, we're gonna be flipping over to the NFC South Roundtable at 8 p.m. So probably going to be ending this show in the next 20 to 25 minutes. So I'm gonna try to get to as many comments and questions as possible. Feel free to put those comments inside of the chat. Special shout out to Soldier says, "What up, everyone?" Soldier, thank you for being here. Solo Slim says, "Game week, who that nation? Let's go." Yeah, I mean, football is here, man. Football is back, and rather we're ready for it or not, it's here. Let's see. Good evening, TJ and the Who That Nation. Scott, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate that. Ronnie says, "Who That Fam?" What's going on, Ronnie? Thank you for being here as well. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. Like I said, feel free to put your comments inside of the chat if you got any questions or comments pertaining to the New Orleans Saints or anything else. But the New Orleans Saints, they added someone to their front office, Thomas Dimitroff. Some of you are very familiar with Thomas Dimitroff from his time as the general manager of the Atlanta Falcons. He was the Atlanta Falcons general manager from 2008 to 2020, so a long time general manager in the league. I believe his father, if I'm not mistaken, was a general manager as well. I want to say the then Washington Redskins. I mean, I believe that's the case. But at the end of the day, Dimitrov comes in as a very decorated executive from his time with the Atlanta Falcons, and he also was the director of college scouting with the New England Patriots before he was the general manager of the Falcons. And then he was a national scout in 2002. And he was a scout in a couple places with the Cleveland Browns, the Detroit Lions, Kansas City Chiefs. So this is a guy that's been around football for a very long time. And, it's good to add somebody to the front office. Now, I will admit, when it comes to the front office of the New Orleans Saints, I have absolutely no faith in this front office whatsoever. I really don't. I think if the New Orleans Saints are going to get themselves out of the situation, it is going to have to involve this coaching staff being able to rise above the decisions of the front office. And Mickey Loomis, to me, I think y'all know where I stand when it comes to it. I will give Kellen Moore the grace that you would give a first-year coach. But as a guy and Mickey Loomis, who has been around for a very, very long time, I don't have the same level of faith and confidence and the same type of grace when it comes to his decision making. I feel like he is the reason why the New Orleans Saints are in the state that they're in right now. I feel like, if it wasn't for his executive role and him being a vice president of the football team, he probably would have been fired if he wasn't on a part of an organization that didn't really have the pressures of mainstream media zeroed in on him. He probably would have been fired a long time ago. But at the end of the day, they're making decisions. They're going to continue to make these decisions because I don't feel like he's going to go anywhere. It's going to have to really come down to Gail Benson just getting tired of the state of affairs that the Saints are in. But if Kellen Moore can actually turn this thing around, we're going to be seeing him for a good little minute. And maybe this is one of those situations where Mickey Loomis maybe wants to be responsible for the resurgence of the New Orleans Saints. He doesn't want to lead the Saints in the state that they're in. But I don't have any faith in Mickey Loomis as the general manager. I just don't. He's a guy that I just feel like, is held in high regard in the front office, so he's not going anywhere. But Thomas Dimitroff, I mean, he does have experience. I'm not going to say that he's going to help the New Orleans Saints in any way. I'm seeing some of his moves as a general manager of the Atlanta Falcons. Some were good, some were bad. I mean, he did bring in Matt Ryan. I will give him that. That was one of his first moves. He did bring in Julio Jones and Roddy White and some of these other cats that's been around the Atlanta Falcons organization that were successful. But at the end of the day, they still the Falcons and they still didn't win nothing. So what can you do, right? I mean, you got two individuals in the office that are really, good football minds, but at the same time had a rough outing where they were. So I don't know, man. I guess another person in the front office wouldn't hurt, but I'm very skeptical when it comes to Mickey Loomis and the decision making. If you want to be 100, I'm just, I just hope that Kellen Moore and his coaching staff can get the best out of these players, get the best out of this situation. Because Lord help us if Mickey Loomis is the guy that's really just truly calling the shots and everybody's looking for him for hope. Let's see. What up, TJ? I'm just happy football is back. I don't know what the Saints are going to look like. I hope they go out there and play hard, play to the win. Yeah, I mean, look, that's all that you can ask for at this point. I mean, we all know what mainstream media feels about the Saints. If you looked at the power rankings, according to ESPN, the Saints are dead last. They don't expect for the New Orleans Saints to do anything. So this year, in my opinion, the Saints are playing with house money because nobody expects them to do anything. Local media don't really expect them to do anything. From a fan perspective, when it comes to playoffs and division wins, like most Saints fans don't really believe that they will be at that point. But if they go out there and play hard, maybe win a game or two that they had no business winning, maybe people will start respecting this team and feel like it's trending in the right direction. But I don't think anybody is judging Kellen Moore on this year. I think they understand that it's an uphill battle for him. And I mean, I'm not going to judge him that way. I probably judge every now and then on some decision making, some situational football, of course. But when it comes to talent and all that kind of stuff, I think that it's going to take some time in order to build up this football team. It seems like to me the Saints are just trying to put together a team that's pretty formidable. But next year, I think when they get themselves back into some pretty decent cap shape and maybe get another draft under their belt, maybe they can trend in the right direction. But right now, it's just about going out there trying to play hard and see how things are going to transpire. TJ, as a lifelong Saints fan, what should I look forward to this year? To in this year's squad? Who that for life? Well, Moose, I just would look forward to some competitive football. Some guys that's going to go out there and not give up. Maybe be behind the 8 ball every now and then, but continue to fight, continue to battle, and put together a formidable football team. Like I said, we know where the New Orleans Saints are right now when it comes to this whole rebuilding process. So I'm not expecting a bunch of wins. I'm not expecting division title. Now, if I'm wrong and that happens, I mean, that would be a pleasant surprise. I'm not going to argue about that. But I just think that anybody that just feels like the New Orleans Saints are just going to go out there and win 10, 11 games, I just think that they're extremely optimistic and maybe a little bit prideful because, they're just trying to convince themselves that things may not be as bad as they think. I don't think they're going to be as bad as people indicate, but I do feel like it's going to be one of those situations where talent is going to play a role in some of these games that they don't win. Not so much about the fact that they're not trying hard. Let's see. I don't even TJ. He the worst GM ever. I don't know about the worst GM ever, but I will say this. I don't think that he's very good at his job. I think that there were a lot of things that kind of covered up his imperfections. And I think the more we get removed from Sean Payton and Drew Brees, the more we realize that it was more so those two individuals than anything that Mickey Loomis has done. To me, he was the guy who went to the store, got a quick pick, and won, $1.3 billion off of it. That's what it was for Mickey Loomis. Like Mickey Loomis, to me, I don't feel like he's very good at his job. And he can go out here and he can make mistake after mistake after mistake because nobody's really holding him accountable for anything because his job is pretty much in a bag. The Saints run their organization like a family structure. Oh, you made a mistake. Oh, we'll get them next time. But at the end of the day, that's not going to generate success. I think the biggest mistake that the Saints could do is continue to allow this guy to just, lead the Saints down a dead end street. Like I think that, okay, you hired Kellen Moore, you bring him in. If you're not generating success, and I'm not going to wood when I say this, I feel like Kellen Moore could generate some success, but if he doesn't, I think the writing needs to be on the wall. And this is when I feel like Saints fans going to have to stand up and really take a stand because there is nobody that is going to be able to force this dude out for the exception of the fans. The fans were the reason why Dennis Allen was fired early in the season. he was willing. I'm talking Mickey Loomis. He was willing to allow Dennis Allen to coach out the entire season and probably would have brought him back if Gail Benson didn't intervene. That is a very dangerous individual. When you are led by ego, you end up making some really crucial mistakes. We're seeing the same situation when we talked about when it came to Jerry Jones. The reason why Michael Parsons is no longer with the Dallas Cowboys is an ego-driven decision. And a lot of his decisions to me are ego-driven. It's the fact that, he wants to prove everybody wrong and prove himself right. But in the process, he's making himself look bad and making Saints fans even more and more frustrated. And I'm telling you, people aren't going to be, dealing with this. They'll probably deal with it this year because you got yourself a roster that's young and inexperienced, two or three quarterbacks that don't really have that much NFL experience, and you have a coach that never been a head coach in the National Football League before. So people will probably give them the level of grace, in the first season, but they're not going to continue to allow this thing to continue, and they shouldn't. And, if they're not going to do anything on airline, then Saints fans are going to have to force their hand. It's early in the season. I don't know how this is going to transpire. This may just sound like white noise in the next couple of weeks. But right now, I just think that people need to hold this organization accountable because Mickey Loomis still is in that role as a general manager. So you're basically saying it's not Mickey's fault, that the team is starting to crumble. So nobody wants to have 2 and 3 and 4 years of this nonsense and being 7 and 8 years removed from going to the playoffs, and you still around here with Mickey Loomis trying to act like he can bring in Sean Payton and Drew Brees and replicate that situation again. People getting tired of that. So that's all I'm saying. Like maybe 2 years tops. But after that, I don't think people are going to be so willing to give this team all of their attention. Like they don't love the team, but they're not going to just sit up here and just allow this team to just, frustrate them year after year when it's pretty obvious what the problem is and you don't want to fix it. TJ, everyone knows the reasons why the Saints in this situation. Anyway, Mickey Loomis should have been drafted at quarterback, should have got the right coach. Yeah, I agree, man. I think that, number one, you should have got the right coach. Number two, I think that at the end of the day, I think they waited too long to get a quarterback for reasons beyond me. I don't know. I don't think it had anything to do with Drew Brees and, or Drew Brees telling them that don't draft a quarterback. Had nothing to do with that. Like that was the decision that Mickey Loomis made. And I feel like they're paying the price because of it. And they're continuing to pay the price, but hopefully they found the right coach in Kellen Moore. I mean, the jury's still out if they made the right decision when it comes to the quarterback, rather it's Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shuck. But at the end of the day, Mickey Loomis is responsible for that. Loomis needs to stop overspending for players 30 and older in free agency, which would help the salary cap going forward. Well, Brandon, I mean, I'll give him credit in this regard. I haven't seen too many 30-year-old players come into this football team as of late. Yeah, I mean, you had Justin Reed out here and Brandon Cooks, but everybody that they brought in, rather it's for a workout, rather it's for them to try to sign, has been a very young player. Like Justin Ross, I want to say he was 24 years old. Brendan Rice, 23 years old. Leota, the edge rusher that they recently signed, I believe he's like 25, 26 years old. They gave Chase Young a 3-year extension. He's only 26 years old. So you have some young players on this team, and it seemed like they're investing in the youth. So I think that's a plus. But you also can't just be signing guys that's undrafted and unproven. Like you got to go out here and draft. You can't just sign undrafted, unproven players, and most of them are just like practice squad, rotational guys. You got to go out here and draft players too that are young and that can give you levels of success early in their career. I'm going to take a few more, and then we're going to go ahead and get up out of here, man. Go switch over to the NFC South Roundtable in just a few minutes here. Says TJ, I get a Saints 7 to 9 wins. Well, look, I can see that as a possibility, 7 to 9 wins. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. TJ, why you think no other coaches wanted to come to the Saints? The good ones asked, can they get rid of Mickey Loomis? If they did, they would have been the Saints coach. Everyone knows he's not good. Yeah, I mean, look, I've already told y'all about the situation with the Aaron Glenn situation. Even though people didn't believe what I was saying, and then all of a sudden, you know, as time went on, it seemed like people understood that was the case. But whatever. But all I gotta say is, the guy is going to continue to cause people not to be interested in his football team. I know people are like, man, why we can't sign this guy? Why we ain't the Saints didn't go out here and sign this guy? Well, it's simple, man. Like it's not the same. Like it's not like how it was where you had a really good selling point with Drew Brees as your quarterback and Sean Payton as your coach. Like who do the Saints have now? Like who do they have? Like, like who can you sell them on? Like a 36-year-old Cam Jordan, a 36-year-old Mario Davis? Those are great players, don't get me wrong, but guys aren't lining up to play for the Saints these days. Like these guys want to play for teams that they feel like have a chance of winning. Not a team that is in a process of a rebuild and seem like they're going down a downward spiral. So the Saints got to give the fan base something. They got to give players something to invest in and to believe in. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer. I'm just telling you all reality. This is the reality of it all. It's not like I want to sit up here and tell you these things. It's just the way that it is. The Saints aren't the Saints like people looked at them back in 2018, 2019. That's just not. Like the Saints are not looked at as a top team in the league anymore. I know that may sound crazy to some people, but it's just like, it's just like, okay, you've been living life the whole time, right? I mean, you were young, you were vibrant, you were youthful. And then all of a sudden, man, you realize, one day you look in the mirror, you start sprouting gray hairs and stuff like that, man. And, you're getting wrinkles on your face. You're like, man, well, it come with a time went. And that's kind of what it is with the Saints. Like, it doesn't seem like we, as a fan base have been that far removed from prosperity, but it has been. It's been a good little minute. So let's see. No matter what, even if Loomis wasn't Saints GM, some of the Saints fans are not never going to be happy. I agree, man. I agree with that. Some Saints fans will never be satisfied, but I don't focus on that. I focus on the ones that are trying to look for results. And when you see the team doing something better, to trend in the right direction, you give them credit. If not, then we criticize and talk about it. But look, I'm not gonna sit up here and just poo-poo on every decision that the New Orleans Saints make. I feel like Kellen Moore and what he's doing, I'm willing to give that a chance. Giving Spencer Rattler a chance in a new offense with a new head coach and an offensive play caller. I'm willing to give that opportunity and a chance. Some people just like, oh man, it ain't gonna work, and that's just good enough for them, right? And I guess you got to turn a skeptic into a believer about winning football games. But to me, I already know and see what's going on with the New Orleans Saints, and I'm adjusting accordingly. I'm not going to sit up here and come up with these makeshift, make-believable, high expectations for a team that I know that more than likely won't be able to exceed them. So it's a matter of knowing where you are and understanding where the Saints are at this particular time. So, if people start doing that and start realizing that it's a work in progress, the better. And you don't have to get yourself all worked up. I mean, it's a marathon right now and not a sprint. But I'm going to go ahead and go over to the NFC South Roundtable. But I want to say thank you all for checking out this edition of the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate your time. I'm going to go ahead and put the link inside of the comments. So if you're not doing anything at 8 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Central, NFC South Roundtable will be over there talking about the NFC South, getting you all prepared for week one. Each respected team of the South is going to be talked about and, broken down about their week one matchup. So make sure you come on over, have a good time. I will look forward to seeing you all there. It's always a good turnout among the Who Dat Nation, and I thank you all for your support. Till next time, all I got to say is, Who Dat?
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
All I got to say is, Who Dat?